The roar of the Madison Square Garden crowd is often an accolade, but for Bo Nickal leading into UFC 322, it was a constant, heated pressure. All week he felt the scrutiny and the noise from the New York fans, a simmering tension that finally found its release in the most explosive way possible. Stepping into the famed octagon for the featured prelim, Nickal didn't just answer his critics, he delivered the most emphatic performance of his young UFC career, culminating in a devastating third-round head kick knockout that sent the legendary Rodolfo Vieira crashing to the canvas. And in that moment of pure, unadulterated triumph, with the crowd now roaring for him, Nickal turned and gave it all back. He flipped a defiant double middle finger to the capacity crowd, a raw, emotional outburst that set the tone for his victory. That sentiment carried directly into his post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, where he didn't bask in the applause, but instead took direct aim at the very fans who had fueled his fire all week. When asked about his mindset afterward, Nickal was candid, admitting to a massive chip on his shoulder. "I wish that I was a little bit better person, but I'm not," he told MMA Fighting during his post-fight media scrum. "I'm very competitive and I'm just a guy, so I'm out here trying to do my best. But you get a little emotional out there when you're fighting in your underwear in front of millions of people." This triumphant rebound was about more than just silencing a hostile crowd. It was a vital response to the first true setback of his MMA career. Back in May, he was dominated and finished by Rainier de Ridder, a loss that clearly lit a fuse. While he appeared humble and focused throughout fight week, that competitive fire was burning intensely beneath the surface, waiting for its moment to erupt. So, when questioned on why he chose to direct his celebration so pointedly at the fans, his explanation was simple and rooted in a fighter's pride. "I felt like I was just standing up for myself a little bit. They're gonna jaw at me and give me crap, then give it back a little bit. I don't look at it as anything other than just standing up for myself a little bit. It's not personal at all, it's just letting them know how I feel." It was the culmination of a week of pressure, a career's worth of expectation, and the visceral emotion of a stunning knockout win, all channeled into a pair of raised fingers and a message received loud and clear.
The post-fight analysis for Jack Della Maddalena's title defense at UFC 332 was far from complimentary, with two former fighters serving as desk analysts expressing significant disappointment in the champion's performance. Stepping into Madison Square Garden, the welterweight title on the line, Maddalena faced the formidable challenge of Islam Makhachev and found himself completely neutralized. The fight unfolded as a grappling clinic, with Makhachev's elite control dictating every moment. While Maddalena did well to avoid being submitted, he spent virtually the entire contest being smothered, unable to mount any meaningful offense or escape the relentless positional dominance of his opponent. This lack of action from the champion did not go unnoticed. Chael Sonnen was particularly critical on the ESPN post-show, stating bluntly that he felt Maddalena severely underperformed. Sonnen highlighted the startlingly low output, noting that 10 minutes into the fight, Maddalena had yet to even throw a punch. By the time the 20-minute mark arrived, he had only attempted a mere 31 strikes, with a mere 20 landing, most of which were inconsequential shots to the body. Sonnen expressed his frustration, saying he spent the entire fight waiting for Maddalena to get going, but was met with the same rinse-and-repeat scenario of control from Makhachev. Anthony Smith echoed this sentiment, agreeing that the output was a major letdown. He pointed specifically to Maddalena's inability to scramble back to his feet, a key area where many expected the champion to have more success. Smith's analysis was that Maddalena simply wasn't doing enough to force Makhachev out of his comfort zone. From Smith's perspective, Makhachev was content to hold dominant positions because Maddalena offered no compelling reason for him to do otherwise. He noted that the champion's entire striking identity, built on throwing punches in combination, switching stances, and attacking the body, was completely absent. Jack didn't force him to have to get into second gear, so why would you? The official commentary team did point out that Maddalena appeared to be in visible pain at times during the fight. While Joe Rogan speculated it might have been from Makhachev's leg kicks, others wondered if a separate undisclosed injury was a factor. Yet despite any potential physical setbacks, the overarching narrative remained the same. Islam Makhachev's performance was so dominant that it completely erased the champion's greatest weapons, leaving the analysts to ponder what went wrong for a fighter who never seemed to get started.
With yet another dominant title defense now in the record books, the question for Valentina Shevchenko is no longer about who she has beaten, but who could possibly present a new challenge. Her systematic dismantling of Zhang Weili in the UFC 322 co-main event at Madison Square Garden served as a stark reminder of her superiority, leaving the flyweight division seemingly barren of fresh threats. Yet, from an unexpected corner, a potential blockbuster trilogy fight has suddenly emerged, threatening to upend the title picture entirely. The architect of this potential shift is none other than Amanda Nunes, the woman long considered Shevchenko's greatest rival and the only fighter to have her number. In the wake of Shevchenko's latest victory, which tied Nunes's record for the most title fight wins by a female fighter at 11, the Lioness made a stunning declaration. Responding to a post about Shevchenko's performance, Nunes laid out her ambitious plan. "After I beat Kayla Harrison, I'm going to go down to 125 and take this belt for the collection too." This statement sends shockwaves through two divisions. Nunes, the former bantamweight and featherweight queen, is already slated to face the formidable Kayla Harrison for the 135-pound title upon her return. A win there would set the stage for a historic drop to flyweight, a weight class Shevchenko has ruled with an iron fist since its inception. Their history is the stuff of legend, two fiercely competitive battles decided by judges' scorecards, with Nunes edging out a unanimous decision in 2016 and a razor-thin split decision in 2017. Many, including Shevchenko herself, have long considered it unfinished business. For her part, the flyweight champion appears open to all possibilities. When asked about her future at the UFC 322 post-fight press conference, Shevchenko acknowledged both Harrison and Nunes as viable options, while also noting the unresolved state of the bantamweight division. "I think it's one of the possibilities, yes. I'm considering that. Bantamweight, now we have Amanda or Kayla, and I would say probably fans would love to see Amanda trilogy because it was unfinished business." However, she also injected a note of caution, questioning what version of Nunes would return after a lengthy layoff. It's unclear yet if she's returning or not returning. Is she fighting or not fighting? Also, it's unknown what shape she's going to return in. Maybe half Amanda or full Amanda, who knows? The path forward is now a fascinating web of interdependencies. Nunes must first get past the dangerous Kayla Harrison. Should she succeed, the stage would be set for a third epic confrontation with Shevchenko, a fight that would not only settle a historic rivalry, but also crown the first woman to hold UFC titles in 3 weight classes. For a champion who has cleaned out her division, this super fight trilogy represents the ultimate new test, a chance to avenge her only UFC losses and perhaps definitively claim the mantle of the greatest female fighter of all time.
It was supposed to be a night of celebration for Hasbulla. The Russian social media sensation was in his element at New York's Madison Square Garden, soaking in the atmosphere of UFC 322 and reveling in the dominant victory of his friend and fellow Dagestani, Islam Makhachev. After the main event, he even stepped into the hallowed octagon for photos with the new champion, sharing in the triumph. But the evening took a chaotic and frightening turn the moment he tried to leave the building. New footage, later shared by Russian heavyweight fighter Rizvan Kuniev, revealed the sheer pandemonium that erupted around the 23-year-old influencer. The clip shows one of Hasbulla's security team literally sprinting through the venue, carrying Hasbulla in his arms as a swarm of fans descends upon them. The scene is one of pure urgency. The man rushes into a waiting vehicle, clutching Hasbulla, and can be heard urgently telling the driver, "Brother, let's move from here." Within seconds, their car is completely surrounded by a frenzied crowd, all pushing and clamoring to get a photo or a glimpse of the internet celebrity. The situation escalated so quickly that it was clear this was no longer a friendly meet and greet, but a security scare. As the repost of the clip by Red Corner MMA noted, some fans literally lose their minds when they see Hasbulla. Hasbulla had to be rescued from fans as he was leaving the UFC 322 event. This kind of intense, overwhelming attention has become a recurring theme for Hasbulla, who rocketed to global fame in 2021 with his spot-on impressions of Khabib Nurmagomedov, earning him the nickname Mini Khabib. His presence at major combat sports events, while common, often places him in volatile situations. In a previous incident on the set of a Russian reality fighting show, a massive brawl between contestants suddenly spilled directly toward the seating area where Hasbulla was sitting alongside legends like John Jones and Jorge Masvidal. Recognizing the immediate danger, Masvidal didn't hesitate, instantly stepping in front of Hasbulla to form a human shield, protecting him from the flying bodies until order was restored. The footage from Madison Square Garden serves as a stark reminder that his celebrity comes with a real physical risk, turning what should be a simple exit into a scene that required a swift and decisive rescue.
The dust has settled on Islam Makhachev's historic capture of the UFC welterweight title, but the path forward for the new two-division champion remains shrouded in uncertainty, with UFC CEO Dana White himself admitting he has no clear answer for what comes next. This past Saturday at Madison Square Garden, Makhachev didn't just win, he authored a masterpiece of control, sweeping the scorecards against a game Jack Della Maddalena to claim the 170-pound strap and secure his place in the history books as a simultaneous two-weight world champion. Yet, in the aftermath of this dominant performance, the usual clear-cut line of contenders has been replaced by a wealth of compelling options, leaving the promotion's boss in a unique position of not knowing which direction to turn. Speaking at the UFC 322 post-fight press conference, White was openly non-committal. When pressed on Makhachev's next challenge, he highlighted the enviable dilemma the champion's success has created. "I don't know yet. Obviously, the great thing that you just laid out is that we have a lot of options, and it depends on what he wants to do," White stated, putting the ball firmly in the champion's court. Does he want to stay at 170? Is he interested in 155? I don't know any of those answers. White's hesitation is compounded by the sheer dominance Makhachev displayed. He confessed that he personally disagreed with the odds makers who had installed Maddalena as a significant underdog, fully expecting the now former champion to present a much stiffer challenge. "I thought that fight was going to be much tougher for Islam. Jack is a tough kid, gritty. He beat Bilal, and Bilal is a nightmare for a lot of people. I thought it was going to be a lot closer than it was. Hat is off to Islam for dominating him." This dominant victory has effectively blown the welterweight title picture wide open, presenting Makhachev with a menu of high-stakes choices. His own team has been vocally campaigning for a legacy-defining fight against former longtime champion Kamaru Usman. Meanwhile, the surging Michael Morales violently staked his own claim for the #1 contender spot with a stunning knockout of Sean Brady on the same card. And looming over everything is the potential for a champion versus champion super fight with the incendiary UFC lightweight king Ilia Topuria. For the moment, however, the immediate future for Islam Makhachev involves rest and celebration. He has earned the right to enjoy the fruits of his labor after a performance that not only secured a second world title, but also left the entire MMA world waiting to see which path he will choose next.
The conversation around former welterweight champion Leon Edwards has taken a sharp and solemn turn following his devastating knockout loss to Carlos Prates at UFC 322, with voices now emerging not just questioning his future in the title picture, but in the sport itself. This wasn't just another defeat, it was a historic and brutal one, marking the first time in Edwards' career that he has been finished by strikes and cementing a troubling 3-fight losing skid for the man who once ruled the 170-pound division. Entering the bout against the dangerous and popular Prates, the Birmingham native was already carrying the weight of 2 consecutive losses, including the heartbreaking defeat that cost him the UFC title, and the hope was that this fight would be the catalyst for a return to form. Instead, the night ended in disaster for Edwards, who was caught clean by a crushing straight right from Carlos in the 3rd round, sending him to the canvas in a moment that silenced his supporters. Carlos, showing no mercy, followed up with a series of unanswered ground strikes until the referee was forced to intervene, handing Edwards a loss that feels categorically different from any that have come before. In the aftermath, as the MMA world digested the result, the call for Edwards to consider his future came from a pointed and relevant source, Ian Garry. The Dublin striker, who had been loosely linked to a future grudge match with Edwards pending a win, took to social media to offer a starkly different suggestion. Rather than looking ahead to a potential showdown, Garry laid out his vision for the welterweight landscape, proposing a fight between the new terror Carlos and the rising Michael Morales to determine the next #1 contender. And for the fallen former champion, his advice was blunt and final. And Leon, retire. It's a stark piece of criticism that underscores how far Edwards' stock has fallen, moving from a name you fight to climb the ladder to a name some believe should no longer be on it. Meanwhile, the view from the top of the division has never looked more different. The new welterweight king, Islam Makhachev, who headlined the same card and comfortably decisioned Jack Della Maddalena to claim the throne, was already looking out at his potential challengers. When asked about the new wave of contenders, specifically the explosive Carlos and the undefeated Michael Morales, Makhachev was respectful but utterly confident. He acknowledged their talent and hunger, calling it a good job today, but ultimately saw nothing in their games that he hasn't seen or can't handle. He pointed to their youth and relative lack of big fight experience on the grandest stage as a key factor, calmly stating, "I can do the same things as them." It's a chilling assessment that paints a picture of a champion looking down at a division in flux, a division that now, painfully, no longer includes Leon Edwards as a relevant force, but rather as a cautionary tale and the subject of retirement talks.
While the mixed martial arts world was heaping praise upon Islam Makhachev for his systematic dismantling of Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 322, one prominent voice was not joining the chorus of approval. Instead, Ilia Topuria, the man who now holds the lightweight throne Makhachev once occupied, launched a scathing social media critique just minutes after the main event concluded, firing shots at both the victor and the vanquished with equal venom. The new lightweight king did not mince words in his assessment of the now former welterweight champion, Jack Della Maddalena. Taking to X, Topuria dismissed the Australian's skills in the area where he was dominated. "Jack needs an entire camp dedicated just to wrestling," Topuria wrote, adding a brutal final verdict. "What a disappointment of a champion." He even offered some unsolicited advice, suggesting Della Maddalena should go to Georgia to learn something, a clear nod to his own Georgian roots and the renowned wrestling prowess of the region. But Topuria's criticism wasn't reserved solely for the man who lost. He then turned his attention to the man who won, directing his fire at Makhachev's fighting style. In a post that questioned the new welterweight champion's entire aesthetic appeal, Topuria stated, "Islam, you need something you can't train: emotion. You're the most boring thing in this game." He capped off his takedown with a confident prediction, writing, "Every day I'm more certain I put you to sleep."
The fiery comments from Topuria add a compelling layer of intrigue to the future of two divisions. Both champions are now in mirrored positions. Each recently vacated a title, moved up in weight, and successfully captured gold in a new weight class. Makhachev, the former lightweight king, is now the welterweight champion after his win over Della Maddalena. Topuria, the former featherweight champion, captured the vacant lightweight title Makhachev left behind by defeating Charles Oliveira. With both men establishing themselves as dominant forces in adjacent divisions, Topuria's very public taunts seem less like casual criticism and more like the opening salvo in a potential super fight, a champion versus champion clash, where the only thing more potent than the skills involved would be the genuine bad blood.